Okay. Thanks a lot for your patience, everybody. My name is Jeff Underdahl. I'm the Vice President of Technical Sales and Product Strategy here at Luxan, and I'd like to welcome you to an overview of the IQ CPQ solution with NetSuite. We have a fairly packed agenda to be able to get us through the next 30 minutes here, and although we're going to be spending the bulk of today inside the product looking at the software, I have 4 slides just to kind of introduce us and introduce some of the concepts you're going to see here inside of IQ, and that will kind of set the stage for as we jump into the software side of it. So first and foremost, a little bit about Luxan. We're about a 50-employee company headquartered in sunny Southern California, Aliso Viejo to be exact, although we do have a handful of offices, if you will, around the country in North America here. We focus specifically on the manufacturing and the distribution vertical. Although we do a lot of work within general business, those are the 2 verticals that we tend to focus on most of our business. So if you are a configure to order, if you're a custom manufacturer, if you're make to stock, make to order, engineer to order, and of course general distribution, those are the verticals that we tend to focus on specifically. We do a lot of work with NetSuite. We're a solution developer for them as well as a service provider. We are also a Salesforce Silver Partner. And the product you're going to see here shortly, IQ, is a BFN or Built for NetSuite Certified solution. So one of the things I like to start talking about here, and this is kind of what was the precipice for us developing this product, was there were some shortcomings inside of NetSuite as it related to the quoting side. And so just a handful of bullets here. You might need an advanced quoting solution and we'll start with number 1 there. If a good amount of your business involves quoting products that are custom and don't exist in your NetSuite Item Master, you probably need an advanced quoting solution. So this is, NetSuite as a product is very specific to wanting to have part masters in the part record to be able to put a quote in the system. And a lot of people that do custom builds, custom kits, custom product quotes don't want to have the hassle of setting up those item masters just to send a quote out to their customer, especially if their hit ratio is only 20 or 30%. You end up with a bunch of stuff in your item record that necessarily doesn't go anywhere. You might also need an advanced quoting solution if many of your quotes are same as accept. So we have a good number of customers that will have a standard product with a bill of materials and a production routing or a standard bundle or kit. And as they plug that into a line item, they want to be able to manipulate the items on that. They want to be able to add different components to the bill. They want to be able to change out and swap out products that are on a bundle or a kit. These are all things that IQ supports great. And then product configurator. I know the C in the CPQ for configurator, this is what gets a lot of people's attention. And this is something that we have a very solid rules-based configurator that can not only determine pricing and select products for you, but also use an expression builder and the rules engine to generate a kit list or a bill or a route and roll up your cost for you so you can see that, mark it up, and put a price on it. You probably need an advanced quoting solution if today you're using the template part numbers or a template part number inside of NetSuite as a quote line placeholder. Very common for us to see somebody setting up a custom part number with a price in it with an extended description, and people are just changing that description out to be able to be representative of what the customer wants. And therefore, once they convert it to a sales order, it becomes the real part number, which may or may not have the components swapped out of the work order. Which leads me to number 5, which is you find yourself changing out work order components on the fly, while you're out there setting up that job. And while that might seem like that's an okay solution, it really throws off the cost of that standard product that you've got set up at the item record. So if you've got an item with these 4 components on it, and your average or standard costing that, the product will be a certain cost, and then if you go changing that out of the work order, that's going to change your average or throw a bunch of variances into the GL if you're standard costing. So there can be a lot of hiccups that come into play here if you're doing anything that's out of the ordinary, different than just what a standard product would be. And finally, you need an advanced quoting solution if you're spending too much time in what I like to call folder land looking for that special Excel spreadsheet that you might have done for that customer, and you're digging around trying to find it and then changing it and saving it as something new every time you want to make a tweak to that estimate or that quote. So this list, frankly, could go on and on and on. These, 5 or 6 that kind of, ring true to me that I see day in and day out when I'm working with folks that are doing custom quoting or configurator-based quoting or trying to inside of NetSuite. And quoting can be complicated. And if you look over there on the left-hand side, there's all kinds of things that go into doing a quote. You've got calculations. If you're somebody doing doors and windows and you've got length and width and height and depth, and you need to be able to calculate all those together to generate detailed bills and component list routings. So these are all different things that play into having a system like IQ that can do all that heavy lifting for you automatically. As we start to dive into the software here in just a couple of minutes, one of the things you're going to see as we kind of go through the flow is guided selling, which is a neat tool, first of all, that as you first go into the solution, it prompts you with questions and answers that allow you to narrow in on the product that you're trying to quote to your customer. And that product might just be a catalog item, or it could be a configured item. But think of the guided selling interface as a question and answer, kind of a pre-configurator, if you will, to get your sales reps to the right products quicker. And then, of course, the configurator, so being able to configure, customize, and build the products or services that you need to be able to meet your customers' needs. Generating the proposal or the quote acknowledgement out to them, being able to attach different media, spreadsheets, presentations, any other things that might go into that. We have a very basic quote acknowledgement, and then we have an advanced proposal generator that does very sophisticated, multi-page, 8, 10-page proposals, if that is what your business requires. And then industry functionality, I kind of just mentioned those with a few bullets just above that. The things that you'll see us do inside of IQ are specific to the vertical that we play in, which is manufacturing and distribution. So you'll see things in here that our configurator can do with regards to creating bills and creating product kits and setting up parts in NetSuite for you automatically. It's more than just a product selector, and those industry vertical functions are what make us different in the CPQ space with Luxan and IQ. As I said in the first slide, it is built for NetSuite Certified, and so you can take some comfort in knowing that it goes through a rigorous testing process with the SDN team over at NetSuite to ensure that everything is working properly and certified for each of their 2 releases a year that come out. So with that, after a couple minutes there, let's jump on into the product. Come over here and we'll bring NetSuite into focus here. So what we're looking at here, when you would start your process inside of NetSuite, most typically, you could start your quote from within IQ, but when you've got an ERP system like NetSuite at your disposal, it makes a lot of sense to be able to leverage some of the tools where CRM is concerned, especially as it relates to having sales opportunities, and then also just being able to quote right out of the account or customer master record. So what we're looking at here on this screen is just a standard opportunity inside of NetSuite, a sales opportunity. There are no line items down there, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, but this is a webinar opportunity. We've got some information already in it, like a projected total of $5,000 for this opportunity. You'll see a couple of buttons up here at the top. One says Create IQ Quote, the other one says View IQ Quotes. And because you might have multiple quotes for an opportunity, this button right here would launch you into IQ, display the 1 or 2 or 10 quotes that you have against this opportunity, and let you bring open that one and do more work on it or flip it to a sales order or whatever the case might happen to be. You'll notice down here in the NetSuite timeline, there is nothing tied to this opportunity record. There are no estimates. There are no sales orders. I'm going to walk you through the process. You can literally see it happen right in front of your eyes. So one of the first things you'll do here is you'll create an opportunity, or you'll create an IQ quote from this opportunity. That's going to take us into IQ and bring the customer information across, in this case 3M. It's going to bring across the name of that opportunity, being Webinar Opportunity. I can change that if I want to make it a different name. Of course, the opportunity ID and the description are also coming across here, so that's how it's maintaining the relationship between the two. Your draft status here, these are user-defined during your implementation. And at the bottom of this list, what you're going to see is a convert to sales order. And after we've added some lines and gone through the configuration process, I will show you how you convert this to a sales order over in NetSuite. For now, we'll leave it as draft. Once you've done all the work on the quote header, you can then click over here on search and add, and that's going to take us over to our line item page. More specifically, though, into what we call guided selling. And you can see it right over there on the very top of the screen above my cursor there, where you define what type of questions you want it to ask, and the next question can be dependent on the first one that you answered. So as you come in here, let's say in this example we were a camera distributor, and if I was looking for a camera where I could change lenses or an all-in-one, those might be my first two options. So if I said, show me everything where I can change lenses, I'm going to get all of my SLRs that come into focus for me to be able to pick one of those. And that may be as far as I go, and I can simply add that to my quote and move on with life. However, if I were to pick something different, I'm going to see a different list of products show up, in this case, point and shoots. And then you'll notice that some of the options down here change again. So you might ask if it's professional shoots or hobbyist kind of shooting. You might want an ultra compact versus a regular compact, which will change the options again. And as I look at those, I can see all those different, of which only 3 come up there. And then I can add that to my quote. And if I hit this little return key back here, it brings me back to my line items, and I can see that and anything else that I've picked off the guided selling page that shows up on my quote. Now, it's very easy to get back into it. I could click right over there and get back into my guided selling page, reset the options, and continue moving. Or I could continue to use my search key here to be able to start doing a type ahead search, where if I were just to type in JCU, I'm doing a search against my product codes or my descriptions here. And I've got a number of different products that I'll bring into focus here. One of them might be this display panel. So if I clicked on that, I can bring that one into context here. If I wanted to bring back into context or show you an example of what a kit would look like, if I brought in this DirecTV package kit, you'll notice this one comes in, but there's a little chevron right here that's going to show you all the different components that come with that kit. And then depending on how you've got this set up in IQ, you can swap these components out, or you could change them and leave them right there on the fly or add to them. In the interest of time, because this is only a 30-minute webinar, I'm going to continue moving on into some of the other more popular kind of things that people like to see, which would be the product configurator. So some of these items will be configured, like this workstation up here. So if I selected that one, you'll notice that it's going to bring me now right into a question and answer page, which not only is going to prompt me for all the different things I need to do, but also build my bill of materials or my component list accordingly. Now in the upper right, you'll notice under custom actions, there's nothing that's happened up there. You're going to start seeing +1s and 2s and 3s show up there as I start configuring this. So I would pick a processor, for example, and you'll notice that immediately my smart code is going to start getting built, as well as my pricing gets built, as well as if I look at my custom items, I've now added that to my bill of materials. So when I go assemble it on the floor, it knows the right chip or processor to put in this thing. And as I start going through here and start making selections, you're going to see other things start happening, and again, more unique smart strings. The custom actions in the upper right-hand corner are starting to add those on. And as I start making determinations like the monitor size, the graphics card can automatically default in with a checkbox, or there could be another option right there that comes in as well. I should note that on the configurator here, I can have any of these fields appear or disappear based on other selections or options. These could be radio buttons, they could be drop downs, they could be multi-selects. There's a number of different things that you could pick as you go through and you configure something here. I'll pick my keyboard and mouse. You'll notice that it's driven all of my details over here to our spec panel, giving me a smart string, giving me a price, and you'll also notice over here that all of these components have now shown up and will be on my bill when I convert this over inside of NetSuite. I'm going to click on Save and Exit up there in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to bring me back to my line item, and you'll now start to see that get set up as a 4th line item over there on the quote. So we'll hit Return, and now we can see our configured workstation. Now, Two more examples I'll show you. I want to talk a little bit about the custom product side of this thing. One of the other products that you probably saw in my drop-down list here was this assembly. So I've got this JCU 300 assembly sitting over here, and if I were to bring that into context here, there is a difference between a kit where I'm just going to release a pick list out to the floor and have inventory picked, and then I'm going to go ship it. And there's a difference between that and something that's going to go to a work order where I'm actually going to have a build plan to actually relieve the inventory and make this product. And behind the line item here, if I were to click on edit there and bring our line page up, you'll notice that this JCU 300, if I went in here and said pull the bill and route, you can now see that this is going to have a multi-level subassembly structure. So I'm going to need this subassembly and this subassembly. Here's the raw material that goes into that. Here's some hardware at the upper level. I can see all of my costing getting broken out here for a total. But what you're seeing here is the ability to have that route and that bill of material. And as I look at those and I explode those, you can also see the operations coming in here, as well as all the costs for setup and my machine runtime and my labor rates and my labor burden. All of that is coming in for the ride with this manufactured item. Now, you might remember to my PowerPoint slide where I talked about you might need an advanced quoting solution if some of the things you do are same as except, or if they're custom. One of the things we allow you to do inside of IQ is be able to add custom products right up here. So if this was going to be a custom rack, and I wanted to call it that way, we'll just give it a number right here that you might see. We'll give it a product code that's defined by you guys, could be the customer's drawing number. We'll give it a quantity of 1 that we're going to be quoting for them. And we could simply add that to the line item with a price and be done with it if we wanted. Or if we wanted to do a little bit more additional engineering work to be able to see the costs and roll it up and mark up the costs and put a price on it, we can do that too. So if that custom server rack looks a lot like that JCU 300 that we did on line 5, I can come over to here and I can come over to my material side and I can copy it from something that already exists in the system. So we'll grab the operations and the components, we'll type in JCU, we'll bring in that assembly, and now for this custom item, I've now got that same environment in here. And you might make some decisions in here, like you might have to delete off a subassembly, you might add a different component. So if you were to come in here and you wanted to add a custom material to this, I could do that and say I need a quantity of 1. I could say the cost is going to be $100 and maybe burden on that is going to be 3. When I save that, I've now got that custom material that's on there. I could even go in there and add standard material. So if I wanted to search my product list and I wanted to put steel as an example in there, I might want to just grab something like that, put it on, identify how much I need. Maybe it's half a sheet of something, and I could come in here and if the cost was in there, it would bring that in and I could save that. And also bring my standard product in as well. And once you start manipulating this, also manipulating the routings here at the subassembly level, let's say if you wanted to go in behind that and change your setup, change your runtime, change your scrap rates, your setup rates, any of these can be changed. And what all of that ultimately affects is up here at the top, you're now going to see a pretty slick pricing configurator up here, what we call the material configurator, that's going to roll up all of your costs for material, overhead, machine, labor time, personnel, and give you a total product cost of $16.91. I can identify what I want my markups to be over here. So if I just wanted to do a product markup of 40 cents or 40% across the board, and I wanted to do a markup up here of 20% across the board, I can start to see those numbers getting calculated and letting me know that probably if you want to get a 40% margin on that, you need to be charging this amount of money right down here on the bottom. And of course, you can change those if you want. So if you believe the market will only bear $2,500, I can type that in and see what my target margin is going to be accordingly. And when I update my sales price, you're going to see it drop that in right here on my line. So there that is, giving me my margin threshold of 30%. I've got visibility into that. There could be miscellaneous charges that you put in there for NRE or anything else that might be there. But also wanted to just take a minute here to just show you how we could do the custom side of this as well. Now, what you'll like to know about what's happening here outside of IQ, and in the interest of time, I'm going to skip generating the quote acknowledgement, but know, for example, if I were to click on the review and send page right here, this next page is where you will generate your quote acknowledgement or your proposal. This page is where you can go to see all the detail for all your different lines, what the pricing is, what the discounts are. Any of that can be entered into IQ, and we'd be happy to show you more of that at a future time. But when we talk about integration back to NetSuite, if I were to come back over here into NetSuite and reload this screen, the entire time that I'm working inside of IQ, we are building the exact same replica of a quote back here on the NetSuite side. So all of your portlets, all of your KPIs, everything is intact on this end of it. And if I were to drill into that quote, you'll see all of our line items, including the custom line, down there on that list. And there's that custom part right there. And we're cross-referencing it with a placeholder part in the quote, yet when we flip it to the sales order, you're going to see that actually generate a real part number inside the system. So if we bounce back over here to IQ, came back into the header page, drop down to that status again that we saw a little earlier, and change that status to convert to sales order, and then we went back to review and send, or actually I could just go back into NetSuite here. That would get the point across too. Now what it's doing is it's taking this quote record and it's converting that quote into a sales order. More importantly, that custom item that you did some of that engineering work on is now being built as we speak while I'm talking to you during this demo. So it'll take a couple of seconds, 20 seconds for that sales order to show up here. We'll see it momentarily. We'll drill into that so you can see how that finishes the process. And then, of course, if it's a manufactured product, you're going to move into your work order process as usual. If it's a picked inventory item or a sales kit bundle, you're going to just generate your pick list and move on with the flow as you normally would inside of NetSuite that way. So we'll refresh this one more time, and we'll just give that a minute here. We've got 6 or 7 line items on there that we want to see come through there, and what's happening there in the background is developing the components for that part. So we'll jump back across here in just a moment. In the meantime here, I think it probably makes sense to just kind of wrap up. I'll come back over here to our PowerPoint slide. And one of the things that I also wanted to touch on real quickly here in the few minutes that we have left is the expression builder. And there's only so much that you could dive into in a 30-minute webinar, but one of the things when you look at that product configurator, you saw me do a computer just a little while ago. But we can also do very sophisticated estimating inside of IQ. And this will be an example of someone who is taking, if you look on the left-hand side, they're taking length and width and the layers of the product and the thicknesses of those layers and the densities, rail widths at the bottom. And if you look on the right on the spec panel, you'll notice how we're doing lots of calculations and conversions to do surface area, square feet, about 5 from the bottom, you'll see a rail volume and board feet that's getting converted. And we do all of that inside of our expression builder. So you would pick one of those out. You can see the mathematics and the functions and the fields that you would insert into there. So you can kind of get an idea there of the math that we're doing where we take the fields and we're multiplying them together and bringing them together like you would do in an Excel spreadsheet. And based on the answers of that variable, you could then, you'll notice up here, have after actions, if you look in the upper left, to be able to say, I want to add a product to the bill of material, and I want to update specific fields, and I want to do that based on the answers in those variables. So there's a lot of power inside this product configurator. It is much more than just a product selector. So I wanted to make sure you guys had a sense of what this thing can do from a capability perspective as you get off the phone and might be considering this to be able to replace your spreadsheets today. So with that, we have a couple of minutes here. I notice if I were to look over in the question panel, we'll see if we've got a couple of those questions there. One question that came in was whether or not you have the ability to generate the bill of material over inside of the NetSuite side. Answer to that is absolutely you do. We've got that one. So yes, you can. We've got another one coming in there. So if I add an item directly into NetSuite, will it show up in the IQ side of things, specifically in the quote? The answer is yes. So the integration is when you set up products, customers, and even different kind of products in NetSuite, whether it's an assembly, a kit, an inventory item, or a non-inventory item, when you set those up in NetSuite, they automatically come over and get replicated in the IQ part record system so that they're there for you to be able to quote on that side of it. A very good question there. I think I've got one more coming in here. And we'll just let that guy come in. And oh, something was coming in there, but it looks like it got deleted. So one of the last things that I wanted to toggle back to real fast, we're back over on the NetSuite side there while I was answering those questions. Our sales order had gotten generated. There are multiple lines on that sales order, but just wanted to circle back, round that out, and just let you guys see for our webinar opportunity that did indeed come across. So we'll jump back over this, wrap this up. If you want to get in touch with us with about more information, we'd be happy to give you a more focused presentation. These tend to be a little bit more broad when you've got a larger audience on a call like this. But there's a number of ways of getting a hold of us. You'll probably get a call back from some more business development folks if you attended this webinar. But feel free to get in contact with us for any of those methods below there that you can see on the screen. And thanks so much for taking the time to spend 30 minutes with us over here, taking a look at IQ and learning a little bit more about Luxan. Again, appreciate it. Have yourself a great day.